And now, from approximately coast to coast, it's the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show.
Thanks very much, and welcome again to another show and another public service feature, actually, called Speaking Out. It's a portion of our show where we give you, the listening public, a chance to phone in with your opinion on a controversial issue of the day.
That's right, friends. Now, we're donating our broadcast facilities and airtime to this worthy project. And we don't receive an award from some prestigious organization for our work, then we'll certainly know how those things are all rigged by corrupt people.
Well, I don't think we should give the idea we're putting on the public service feature just because we expect to get an award.
Well, I can't think of any other reason why we're doing it.
It'd be nice if we did.
We're certainly not giving up our time to a bunch of long-winded crackpots just for the fun of it.
No, we're doing it because that's the American way. And I see from the flashing light on the phone that we have our first caller, and I wonder if you'd give us your name, please.
Yes. My name is Truman Capote.
You're not the same one, I assume.
You know, it's odd you should ask. My mother used to come up with that same question, and I never knew what she was talking about either.
Well, let's just drop it and move on to the controversial issue of the day that you'd like to give us your opinion about.
Well, I don't think my little boy Rupert should be required to wear one of those reflecting flea collars to school.
You mean kind that is supposed to make dogs and cats easier to see in the dark?
That's right. Now, the ones they sell for the larger breeds are just about the right size to fit a 9-year-old kid, but that's beside the point. It's a constitutional issue.
You think it violates the child's rights by humiliating him, is that right?
Well, I don't really mind having Rupert humiliated. I think it's up to the parents to decide whether they want their kids to have fleas.
Well, I suppose that'll eventually have to be decided by the Supreme Court. And while we wait for that decision, let's chat with another caller here on line 2. Could I have your name, please?
Yeah, I'm Mrs. Odie Chilstrom, and I'm calling from Kendallville, Indiana.
Nice to hear from somebody out that way, Miss Chilstrom.
Well, I can't imagine why you'd say that. I hear from people around here every day, and most of them, they bore me to tears.
Well, hope you didn't call in just to give us a negative opinion about your neighbors, huh?
No, I have a much more important matter to discuss. It's my opinion that a wife should be able to collect on her husband's life insurance when he runs off with another woman.
Are you saying you and your husband are separated, but he's still alive? Is that it?
Well, he's still alive temporarily. That's because I can't scrape up the bus fare to go to California and get my hands around his neck. I need his life insurance money to do that.
Well, I guess the company might pay off in advance if you'd guarantee in writing that you'll take care of the situation, but I don't think it'll become a standard clause in policies anyway. Let's move along to a quick call right here. Your name, please.
Hello? Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm Harvey Netzinger. Where did I turn down my radio?
Your radio on, Harvey?
Yes.
Well, have you turned it down?
Yeah, okay, I got it.
Okay.
I live under the big bridge on Interstate 95 just after you leave town.
I know the one you mean. What's your opinion, sir?
It's my opinion that my brother-in-law, Milledale Eubanks, is a chowderhead and an nincompoop, in addition to being a lazy parasite.
Well, I'm afraid that's not really a controversial issue of the day.
I'm glad to hear you say that, and I guess you're right that most people who know Millard agree with me completely.
Well, I didn't mean I agree with you when I said the matter wasn't controversial, you know.
Look, friend, there's no need for you to soft-pedal your feelings and straddle the fence on this thing. It's a free country, and you got the same right as the next person to say that Millard L. Eubanks is a complete fool.
Well, all right. Still something I'd like to think about first, but thanks for bringing it to our attention, and I hope you other listeners will have something equally thought-provoking to discuss on the next edition of Speaking Out.
Now, here's a money-saving tip from the makers of Einbinder flypaper. Friends, if you're in the habit of taking your flypaper down at bedtime and putting it in a drawer because you think insects sleep at night, it may be costing you more in the long run.
Flies not only remain awake while you're sleeping, they may even multiply and create more flies. So play it safe and leave your fly paper hanging 24 hours a day.
But be sure it's the brand you know is working for you around the clock. Genuine Einbinder flypaper, a name you've grown to trust over the course of 3 generations. And now, through the magic of live radio, we again join Folly Gerard in a remote corner of America as he continues his tour down the byways. Today, Folly has parked his deluxe motorhome in Langley, South Carolina, to bring us this week's Homespun Report.
For many of those who are growing older in America, the sunset years have instead become the gray and foreboding years. For them, the familiar places are gone and the familiar ways have changed. But here in Langley, South Carolina, a happy and productive life goes on for the senior citizens thanks to the efforts of one man, a man named Kyle Rumsey. Kyle bought the old Langley flour mill when it closed in 1979, and he's turned it into a center of activity for those between 65 and 80.
Well, actually, we have some people well beyond 80, Mr. Gerard. One dear lady walks 2 miles to come here every day, and she's 94 years old, bless her heart.
Yes, bless her heart indeed. And Mr. Rumsey, I know what you've done here fulfills your dream of long standing. You've provided a productive gathering place for the older people of your community who would otherwise feel useless and discarded.
Well, that's right. I used to sit on my porch every morning and watch the retired people walk down to our little village park, and they'd sit out there in all kinds of weather and play dominoes. And I figured it must make them feel pretty useless and discarded.
But then you saw your chance to help those in the 65 to 80 group when the old flour mill closed down in this building right here.
Yeah, except as I said, some in the 65 to 80 group are as old as 94.
Exactly. But now, where the grindstones once turned grain into flour, Kyle Rumsey has carefully placed recreational equipment, and it's available to Langley's senior citizens every single day.
Well, that's correct, and I appreciate you referring to these knitting machines as recreational equipment. That's what I've taught the old folks to call them, too.
Well, they truly do provide recreational therapy for the elderly. I suppose they spend their days here at the machines, weaving little gifts for their children and grandchildren.
No, what they weave on the machines is cotton fabric in large bolts. And their grandchildren wouldn't have any use for that. I can sell it to clothing manufacturers as far away as Cincinnati.
Well, then what you've set up here for the old people is almost like a real commercial knitting mill.
Yes, in fact, I think you could say it's exactly like a real commercial knitting mill. The old folks are required to clock in at 7 a.m., and they work at their looms until 5 in the evening, unless we have a big order that keeps them here later.
Well, that seems like kind of a long day for the elderly.
Oh, I don't know. Most old people get up early anyway, so I think starting at 7 is good for them.
Prevents them from having time to think about growing old, I guess.
Well, that's right. And then, too, they get several work breaks during the day. I have to shut off the machines, you see, whenever the air inside the building gets so filled with cotton lint that the workers can't breathe.
I guess that's a problem in any building where cotton is woven, huh?
Well, not in the newer buildings. This one was put up around 1880, and it has no ventilation, so I have to turn off the machines to let the lint settle every 2 or 3 hours, but, I don't mind. The old people don't get paid for that anyway.
Oh. You mean they get paid for the time they spend at their looms? They don't do this purely for recreation?
No, at first I ran the mill strictly as a recreational program, but then some enforcement agents from the State Labor Department were out here, and it was their thinking that the old-timers would feel more useful if I paid them.
I suppose it might seem almost like a sweatshop here if they didn't receive at least the legal minimum wage.
Well, it's a little like a sweatshop anyway, because I don't exactly pay a minimum wage. See, it's all piecework. 30 cents for each bolt of cloth that a worker turns out.
Well, how much can your people earn under an arrangement like that?
Well, if they were experienced textile workers, they could clear $1 an hour easily, but older people slow down a lot, so I guess they average about $2 for a 10-hour day.
But, of course, their main reward comes from feeling useful and productive.
That's right. I keep reminding them that they weren't getting paid anything at all for playing dominoes in the park.
That's very true. So it is that Kyle Rumsey has brought a renewed purpose into the lives of many in Langley, South Carolina, who had once felt they were society's cast-offs. They came to this old brick building from miles around each dawn. They leave at day's end with money in their pockets and a smile on their elderly lips, thanks to Kyle Rumsey, a man who had a dream and who made his dream come true. And now we pack up and head out of Langley to see what other stories are waiting to be told down the byways. Until our next stop, this is Farley Gerard saying so long for now. Yes, sir. How many will you be, please?
I'll be one.
You'll be one. Sit right here, sir. I'll get your menu.
Thank you. One alone.
Here you are, sir. Anytime you're ready.
Thank you. Oh, say, do you have a kiddies menu?
A what?
A kiddies menu.
Well, this is our regular menu. We do have a children's menu, but...
Could I look at it, please?
Well, why?
Well, I don't want to order from this regular menu.
You mean to say you want to order from the children's menu?
That's right. I like children's portions, and I like to have my meat cut up for me.
Well, you're an adult. I mean, this is kind of irregular, isn't it?
But that's what I like to eat. Could I have it, please?
Wouldn't you feel kind of silly ordering from a children's menu?
Not at all. And look, I wish you wouldn't make so much out of it. People are looking at me here.
Well, I'll have to ask the manager. I don't know whether we can let you order from that or not. Wait a minute.
One alone.
All right, here you are. The manager says it's okay.
Oh, good. Oh, boy.
You like the picture of the big bunny rabbit on it?
Yeah. Let me see. I'll have this Humpty Dumpty egg salad, Little Miss Muffet curds and whey pudding, Old Mother boneless chicken.
Don't bend the bunny rabbit menu, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that's what I'll have. This here.
What?
Turkey lucky with gravy, cat and fiddle mashed squash.
And may I suggest a silver bell and cockle shell salad, sir?
Okay. And then for dessert, I think I'll have curds and whey pudding with a lollipop in it.
All right, I'll be right back.
Oh, and for openers, bring me a Shirley Temple, straight up. And now, let us return again to Gary Summit and its endless story of intrigue among the socially prominent. There in stately splendor, far removed from the squalid village below, they fight their petty battles over power and money. As action begins, it's Halloween. Wealthy Dowager Agatha Murchfield is preparing to receive trick-or-treaters in her Amelia Earhart costume. Suddenly, her weak-willed son Rodney enters the room wearing a powder blue rabbit suit. Rodney speaks.
Mother, why must the principal heir to a $5 billion fortune keep wearing the same Halloween costume he had when he was a child?
Well, it still appears to fit, now that I've had the seams let out a bit. It's not my fault that you grew up to be a little shrimp just like your father.
Well, I just hope none of the people I deal with in the world of commerce come to the door this evening. I think it makes an executive seem less forceful once his colleagues have seen him in a rabbit suit.
Rodney, no one comes to the door on Halloween except the neighbor children. And I'm sure none of the top executives you deal with during the day are out begging for goodies in silly costumes tonight.
No, I think they were all going to the masquerade party at the country club. I know that's where my brother Caldwell went, dressed as a swashbuckler. I would have preferred an evening like that myself.
Well, I'm afraid you're just not the type to swashbuckle, Rodney. Besides, I need someone here to help me hand out gumdrops and lemon balls to the trick-or-treaters.
Well, as I mentioned before, Mother, I'm the principal heir to your $5 billion fortune. Why do I have to deal with trick-or-treaters when we have a whole staff of servants?
Well, I gave them all the night off so they could have their own party below stairs. And I can just imagine what a wonderful time they must be having down there.
Very well, Lloyd. If you'll hand me the apple Miss Agatha left out for us, we can gather round and bob for it now.
I can't bob for anything in this confounded monkey head, Wilfred. I'm suffocating. You know, it takes a sadistic woman like Miss Agatha to make me wear this thing every year.
Well, now, Lloyd, Miss Agatha's a good sort. I'm sure she allows me to have the Queen Victoria costume only because I might be called into service upstairs. It wouldn't be proper for a butler to appear before guests in a gorilla suit.
Well, frankly, I don't think it would look so great for a middle-aged man to serve guests looking like Queen Victoria either. Miss Agatha just picks out these dumb costumes to make fools of all of us.
Now, there, Lloyd. Miss Agatha's a good sort. Now, have some more of the grape juice and soda crackers she put out for us.
I want to play the pin the tail on the donkey.
Now, I'm afraid we won't be doing that this year, Lucille. Miss Agatha said there wasn't money enough for pins and soda crackers, too.
Boy, some party. I wish I could spend just one Halloween like Mr. Caldwell. I saw him leave for the country club in his swashbuckler's outfit, and I can just picture the great time he must be having about now.
Hey, you in the cute little swashbuckler suit. Are you Caldwell Murchfield?
Yes, but I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage. I don't recognize you at all in that convict suit and ski mask. It's a great costume.
It's not a costume, pal. I'm a convict wearing a ski mask.
Well, in that case, you'd better leave. This country club is very finicky about who it lets in. I'd rather not be seen with you myself.
Don't worry, I'm being careful nobody sees us together. The people I work for want to be very sure that what I do to you looks like an accident.
What do you mean, the people you work for? Who do you work for?
Let's just put it this way. I was sent here directly from the head office in Omaha.
Omaha? Good gravy. Then I must have been found at last by...
You guessed it, pal. You couldn't expect to hide forever.
Well, will Rodney be allowed to eat any gumdrops that are left over after the trick-or-treaters depart? Is Agatha making Lloyd wear the gorilla suit because she truly hates him? And where's the parking attendant at the country club while all this is happening? Perhaps we'll learn more next time when we hear the highway patrolman say...
There's a swashbuckler inside this gunny sack, but he's still breathing.
That's next week, when we resume our endless story of intrigue on Gary Summit.
Now we welcome you to an episode of Wing Po, the true-to-life story of a Chinese philosopher who wanders across the American frontier in search of work. As our action-packed drama begins today, Wing Po is approaching a homesteader's cabin to offer his services.
Well, howdy there, young fella. You're, kind of far away from home, ain't you?
The words you speak are true, but equally it is so that he who never journeys far from home is like the bow that can only wander where the arrow may fly.
Well, there may be some truth in that, and, look, even if there ain't, you're welcome to come in here and share a plate of beans.
Such kindness will not go unremembered, for it is rare to see the hawk display compassion for the meadowlark, even though both must share the same sky.
Uh-huh. Does that mean you don't want any beans?
No, I will eat with you, for two who share the sustenance of life together are much the same as raindrops falling from the sky. They know not where they go, and yet the fate of each is like the other's.
Say, you wouldn't happen to be that Chinese philosopher who tried to open up a new wisdom dispensary there in Junction City a while back, would you?
I am the one. But sadly, the times have become hard for the people there, and there's little money left for them to spend on philosophy. All last month, I sold only 2 parables about the owl and the dragon. Thus, I now go elsewhere in search of work.
Well, I reckon we can always use another hand around the place here. There's wood to chop, and there's...
Oh, your kindness overwhelms, but one must never chop wood, for it is a thing to be studied. In each bend and swirl of the grain there is a story of some forgotten windstorm, and as the twig was bent, so did the tree incline.
Yeah, well, I guess a fella could study wood if he wanted to, but... You see, I only got $30 a month to spend on hired help, and I was figuring on getting my kindling chopped for the winter on that.
You're a gentleman and one in need of wisdom. From you I shall seek only $25 each month, and because I like you, I will study your wood and throw in my flute music for nothing.
Well, I reckon that's a bargain, right enough. So 25 it is.
You have acted wisely, and as I've often said, he who pays his money to buy knowledge is enriched. He who buys only the labor of a man stays poor in spirit.
Harley, who in the world are you talking to out here?
I am Wing Po. I have traveled many miles seeking the ear of those who wish to hear my wisdom.
Well, I can certainly believe you've been on the road all right, all mud-caked all over the bottom of your kimono there.
I have learned to live with the dust of the trail upon my being, for he who is pure within himself is cleansed on the outside as well.
Wing Po's a philosopher, Jessica. See, I've signed him on as a hired hand to read wood for us.
And I am grateful.
Wait. You signed him on to do what?
I shall explain. Within each log of wood, there is a story waiting to be told. A story often held for many years in silence. But now you shall hear each tale that the swirls and rings within the bark may have to tell.
Well, that's just about the nuttiest thing I ever heard. Of course, Harley really takes the cake for hiring you to do it. Now you just pick up your flute and get off this property.
But knowledge gained is the soul's nourishment, and the brain is like wind chimes in still
I'm going
air.
to count to 3 and then blow your head off.
No, please, no violence. I go, for it is so written in my destiny. So our hero moves on to his next adventure. Be sure to join us again soon for more action-packed excitement in the thrilling life of Wing Po. Now, in the interest of fair play, we present a rebuttal to a recent Bob and Ray editorial. A while back, our Public Service Department gave its unqualified endorsement to the Save the Whales movement. And speaking in reply now, we have with us Mr. Luther Delp.
Thank you. Not long ago, these two chuckleheads here went on
Just
the air.
just a minute, Mr. Delp. I hadn't quite finished introducing you. What organization are you affiliated with?
I belong to the Elks Club and also the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
And both of those groups have come out in opposition to saving the whales, have they?
No, not that I know of.
In other words, you're not speaking on behalf of those organizations, you just belong to them.
That's correct. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, of course, and also on behalf of two gentlemen who were waiting for haircuts at the same barber shop where I got the trim last Thursday, see?
Well, Mr. Delp, our editorial department normally grants equal time only to persons with opposing views who are considered qualified spokesmen.
Well, you trying to say that I'm not qualified just because I got my hair cut last Thursday?
No, doesn't rest on that point, but apparently somebody on our staff slipped up. But as long as you're here, why don't you just go ahead, huh?
Well, it seems like a pretty shoddy way of introducing me, but since I'm already here, I'll go ahead. Bob and Ray recently recommended that we all start saving whales, but they failed to suggest where the average person might keep a whale collection after it's saved a few of them.
Well, look, I think you and your friends missed the point.
Oh, hold it right there, pal. Did I interrupt you when you were giving your side of this thing?
No, but I think you misunderstood what Save the Whales movement is trying to do.
No, quite the contrary. You're the one who misunderstood how hard it is for working people who live in small apartments to save whales. I mean, it's not like saving stamps or matchbook covers or some other small thing that you can just stick in an album and forget about. Everybody at the barber shop agreed that a whale is a very large item.
Oh, Mr. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, I'm
really.
glad you admit it. Now, for example, you take these statistics here that I obtained at the library regarding the California gray whale of the Pacific region. Now, I think you'll agree that no one who is saving whales would consider his collection complete without a California gray. but those babies can grow up to be 60 feet long. Now, that's a fact that your staff should have checked into.
Well, I'm sure they checked
Hold it,
into
wait a
it.
minute. I'm just getting to my best part here, the argument back. The figures prove beyond all doubt that the great sulfur bottom whale is even larger, sometimes attaining a length of 95 feet.
Mr. Delp, these statistics of yours have nothing to do with our
Well,
editorial
I'm sure
position.
you're just saying that because you fancy show business people don't live in three-room apartments. Now, maybe you've got plenty of space to keep a collection of 95-foot whales. I don't know, but I only make $14,000 a year as an apprentice floor walker, and I can't afford a big enough aquarium to indulge in a rich man's hobby.
Well, we didn't intend for saving the whales to be a hobby. That's completely against what we were
Well,
talking
I'm glad you brought up that point because the guys at the barber shop agreed it would take, well, more like a full-time job to look after a whale collection, especially if they're still alive. And some collectors would want to branch out into the sperm whale family. Now, there's another 80 feet of your apartment used up.
Our editorial didn't suggest anyone start keeping a whale collection. Save the whale just means that we want to protect them from being hunted commercially.
Oh, well, I didn't understand it that way.
Now, you can see how those figures you assembled on the size of the various breeds and the size of your apartment are all immaterial.
Well,
right?
I feel kind of silly. So, can I just move on to my other editorial reply? That's about men who work as meter maids being called meter guys or something more masculine like that.
No, I can't do a reply on that because we've never done an editorial about meter maids.
Oh, well, then here's my card. If you say anything later that I can speak out in opposition to, just give me a call at this number, will you? Except on Tuesdays.
Okay, well, you've been listening to an editorial rebuttal.
Every Tuesday, I pick at a toxic chemical dump. Now, they're just throwing that stuff away down there when poor people could use it.
Well, I can see you've given that issue about as much thought as the other matter. So how about leaving before you get into it, huh?
Sure, happy to oblige.
Okay.
But don't forget to call now.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye. Well, our little company is ready to quietly steal away now, and that puts another edition of the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show into the time capsule for today.
It was produced for the Radio Foundation by Larry Josephson, who thinks it's the $20,000 bill that doesn't have a president's picture on it.
Marjorie Van Halloran was associate producer. Paul Taubman made the music, and Al Schaefer the sound effects.
Our engineers were Mike Moran and Joe Lopes, who just may be the only two people here who know the difference between a kilowatt and a megahertz.
Production assistant was Stuart Zagner.
Funding in part by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Through NPR's Satellite Program Development Fund.
Okay, this is Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumb.
For a free picture of Bob and Ray, send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116. That's Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116. This program was independently produced by the Radio Foundation.